Good evening, everyone. So today I'm going to present a topic about the unlocking the potential of AI in school accreditation, a pathway to enhancing self-study and evidence-based evaluation. Just want to give you a brief introduction about myself. My name is Dr. Aisha Sayeri. I'm an associate professor and also the assistant chair of the General Education Department at Zayed University, the College of Interdisciplinary Studies. I'm also a lead inspector with CIS, NIASC, and a member with CAPE accreditation bodies. Our agenda for today, we will start by a short introduction. We will present the main standards of accreditation. What are the challenges that we usually as school leaders face, the AI-driven transformation, and accreditee prep. So accreditee is not actually a word, but it is usually a word that is very popular with accreditation evaluators. They usually call it accreditee prep. So let's start by the first thing. It's jokes, but at the same time, they are facts. So before we start the accreditation, we usually look like this. We want everything to be neat, everything to be organized, and we are very excited actually about how are we going to present the best that we have in school. But after the accreditation visit, we look like this. It's very hectic. It's time consuming. A lot of effort has been put there. Sometimes we are feeling lost. What are the best evidence that we need to present? And so on and so forth. Also, we are overwhelmed with a lot of requirements, a lot of information, and we think that every single paper is important to present and we need to save. So this is also putting on us a lot of pressure, understanding what are the main important things that we want to have in hand as evidence for the accreditation visit. It's too much data. We cannot go away from it. And it's very hectic, it's very tiring, and we don't know what is the best in this data. How can we read that data and analyze it in order to present the best that we have? And then we are loaded with a lot of questions, which all the school evaluators, the accreditation evaluators are asking, and we need to be ready with every single question that is asked. A lot of evidence, we are lost, which is the piece that they need, which is the piece of evidence that they might consider really important and will think that it meets the standard. So it's that always the tiny part that we want to look for and we don't know from where to get. Also, we have high expectations about teachers and students, and we think that they will be behaving the best they can, or we want them that they will be behaving with the best that they have. And then a lot of questions have been raised from now and then with the school leaders. How can we prepare for the accreditation self-study, which is the big pain for any school? What standards or criteria must we meet for accreditation? There are a lot of standards, but we don't know what is the main important standards that we need to meet, and it must be met for the accreditation. What documentation and evidence are needed? This is also an important point, and this is one of the big pains as well. It's going side by side with the self-study, but again, sometimes we feel lost about what evidence do we need to provide. How to prepare for an accreditation site visit? From where we start? What things we need to do and complete? This is also another thing that we always ask about. And what happens if we don't meet the standards? What will happen? Are we going to be not accredited, or we will be accredited with some recommendations? And what about all the efforts that we have been doing from everyone in the school? Is it wasted or not? So all of these questions came to our mind. So from here, I want just to give you the landscape of school accreditation before we dig deeper in the challenges and how can we overcome those challenges. Before, the accreditation is very traditional way, manual review of extensive paperwork, and we have like a lot of folders, delays and subjective evaluations most of the time because it's not focusing to have an evidence with it, or even not supported with data on hand. Then we came to the stage of digital transformation, where we have a data-driven accreditation. The technology is helping us a lot, and there are some opportunities for efficiency and accuracy. But again, it is also time-consuming, Also, sometimes we have subjective evaluations of what we do. And then we come to the AI integration, which we have some tasks that are automated, analyzing the data, looking at the gaps. How can we bridge the gaps? The intervention that can be suggested. So providing insightful recommendations from the AI integration. Now we are in the age of AI. How can the AI benefit us in order to prepare for the accreditation visit in the most powerful way? The school accreditation started by this. These are the guiding statements, the purpose and direction. This is one of the main standards and one of the main domains that we need to meet. The guiding statements or the purpose and direction, you can see it in the school vision and mission, the definition of high quality learning, the intercultural learning, the globalization. All of these are going beyond or below the purpose and direction, which is one of the main important domains. This is driving the whole school, driving all the domains. That's why we call it the driving statements. We also have some other domains that, of course, they are important, and we, as school leaders, we usually care about them. The curriculum, the teaching and assessment for learning, the well-being, the residential services if we have homestay students, and this is all related to student experience. We also have some other domains like the governance, leadership and ownership, the staffing, the premises and facilities of the school, and the community and home partnership, which all fall below the people and the community as a whole. So these are basically the main standards of the accreditation. There are substandards, there are even more standards than this, but these are the most important standards. And the biggest of them is the purpose and direction. Some schools follow different approaches. Some schools said that we are going to use the design thinking process in order to identify the problems that we have empathy building, and try to solve this problem, ideation, prototyping, and then testing. This is a good approach, actually. We cannot say that it's a bad one. It's an amazing approach if the school have that strategy on hand and they try to plan for the accreditation visit using the design thinking process. Other schools are using the SWOT analysis, the strength of the school, the weakness of the school, what are the opportunities and what are the threats. This is also a very good way of starting the accreditation process. And some schools are actually going randomly. They don't know from where to start and they just pick any part and start from it. So we are here today to avoid being in a random way of doing the accreditation process. We know that we have some challenges and we cannot escape away from those challenges. Those challenges are a lot and are many, and some of the times, or even most of the times, it delay the process of the accreditation. It's put us in a situation that we want to postpone the accreditation, asking for extension of time, and so on and so forth. So what are some of these challenges? Number one, the subjectivity. When we make the prep report and we send it to the accreditation team, they usually provide feedback before they come to the actual visit. When they read the self-evaluation, most of the time, or most of the comments that are common in most of self-evaluation, that it is subjective evaluation. It is not an objective evaluation. It has some personal bias. They don't go with a consistent standards. They don't have data as an evidence. The evidence that they provide is weak evidence. It is not a reliable sources. Another challenge is that it is time consuming. We have a lot of things in school, and I know the school life, how is it hectic and how it is having a lot on the plate, and adding another load of accreditation is really make another challenge. Data intensive, we are loaded with a lot of data. We need to collect the proper data, manage those data very well, understand what exactly we need to analyze from these data. And lastly, the limited insights. Sometimes we look at the surface level analysis. We miss a lot of opportunities that are really important, and the accreditation evaluators really want to look at it. So this is also another challenge. AI is here actually to transform all these challenges to be opportunities. So here is what can AI provide. AI can help by providing valuable feedback. Before you send your prep, the self-evaluation for the prep visit, you can just take a feedback from the AI. Of course, there are certain things that we need to consider, but it can also provide a proper feedback. So here you have an opportunity to improve your work. Data analysis, although you might have a team who will be working on data analysis, but the AI can also look at things that might not be tackled by humans' eyes. And sometimes it gives you opportunities or interventions from what is in the data. Summarizing and reporting, yes, you can write, but also it can help you to have an outline to start summarizing and reporting your self-evaluation. Intervention and improvement is very important, and it helps a lot in giving you what is needed, or just give you suggestion of how to improve and how to suggest new things. Practicing interviews, which is one of the big transformation in accreditation process, that AI can train you very well on the interview that happened between you and the evaluators. This is something really good, and we will discover it today together. So AI has some pros in the accreditation, but it also has some cons. So the pros is that it is data-driven decision. It has a continuous analysis that never ends, a lot of feedback and improvement that also never ends. It can organize the evidence that you have, can give you opinion about if this piece of evidence can meet that standard or no. It can help you also in the writing process. Sometimes if you lost from where to start, it can organize your work, give you a structure, give you suggestion from where to start. Some of the cons that it is very costly. It's very costly compared to other tools that you can use. Sometimes it has data privacy concerns, which we are going to speak about, and how are we going to avoid it as well. Some people have resistance to change. They don't want to go through things that they don't know. They don't want to take that risk. What if it didn't work? What if it didn't happen? So we are going to waste our time. It has somehow dependence on technology if we rely on it in a big time. So yes, it has some dependence on technology. And here we have to have a human judgment, and we have to have a balance between what we are doing on AI and what we actually want to do. It has some potential bias because sometimes it takes from the open source data, which we are going to avoid in the accreditation process, and we'll let you know through the workshops later how can we avoid that. There is a very important skill that needs to be learned in doing the accreditation, which is called the prompt engineering. I'm not going to go into details about prompt engineering now because it's a big thing by itself, but it is just briefly to let you know, this is a new skill. This is a new AI literacy skill that has been up now, and we all need to learn. What is the role of AI that I'm going to give? What is the tone that I want it to be generated? Who will be our audience? What is the purpose from what I want from the AI? So there are certain way that we need to write our prompt in order to get the best output from the AI and to help us. Otherwise, we are going to go into iterative process of enhancing the prompt in order to get the best output. So this is also another skill that we need to learn before we start the accreditation process. So this is just a sample of it. We need to have a purpose in the beginning. We need to set the tone and specify it, either it's formal, informal, serious. We need to have a target audience to whom this report will be given. Is it for teachers, for evaluators, for students? We can give some additional information. For example, if we are going to use ChatGPT, we can ask ChatGPT about certain criteria that we wanted to keep in mind. There are also, you can feed it with other constraints that there are some restrictions, that things that I don't want to be included in the report or don't speak even about it. And then you can be engaged in a discussion with a chatbot and get the best answer that you want. For the accreditation prep, which is the most important step in our accreditation, here is the main 3 things that we need to have: the evidence, the self-study report, and the stages of development. We need to have the evidence in alignment with the standards that we have. We need to start writing the report or the self-study based on the evidence that we have, and we need to evaluate ourselves. Which stage of development are we in according to the protocol and according to the accreditation standards and criteria or rubric. Whatever framework you are using, it shows usually where the school is and where they want to go. So you need to evaluate yourself, in which stage are you in, and what is your aspiration for the next stage. So for the self-study, it is very important that you need to collect a lot of data and to make sure that you collected the exact data that you want. And in our workshops, we are going to speak about that in more details. The analysis and reporting is very important. How can we report, or how can we analyze the data and report it in a proper way? And even if we are not going to do it and the AI will do it for us, we need to have the human judgment eye, what things I need to get and what things I need not to get or avoid. And then I have here the evidence. I collect my evidence with all this data, arrange my folders, and then start with writing the self-evaluation. After I write it, I can feed also the system back again and get feedback, and then revise my self-study report till I get the best version of it. Evidence is actually a big topic by itself. And even we can spend many days, many months about what is the best evidence that we want. So for evidence, there are three things you need to keep in mind. I call it the three I's: the intention, the impact, and the implication, or the implication from the implementation. So the three I's: what is the purpose and goals from this evidence? That's a question I need to ask myself. What is the impact that it will focus on, or the impact that we'll have from this piece of evidence? What is the implication of implementation? What are the consequences of the actions that we have? Evidence can take any form. It could be student feedback through online surveys, feedback mechanisms, can be some recorded videos, some synopsis from the students' talk, could be community collaboration, like online forums that they collaborate in, could be discussion platforms, some other teacher engagement evidence like personalized recommendations or feedback, professional development evidence, and the parent involvement, of course, through the communication tools and the progress updates. So let's try something together that you will love it a lot. Let me just go over so this is something that I want to share with you. Here is a case that we are going to understand it together and try to understand what is the challenge that is here and how can we avoid that challenge. As an academic vice principal in an ex school, I was tasked with administering a community survey provided by our accreditation body. So the accreditation body asked that leader in the school to do a community survey for all stakeholders in the school: students, teachers, staff, parents, everyone in the school. They need to do that community survey. They give them the survey ready-made, and they ask them to do the survey and to analyze the data from that survey and start to look at the strength and weakness. Actually, the accreditation is doing something very, very good, which they set certain criteria through that survey, which is aligned to each of those standards. It gives them to the school, and they ask them to distribute the survey and collecting the data. However, the academic vice principal is feeling somehow overwhelmed. How can he utilize this data to write the self-study report? What if there are some potential gaps or discrepancy? How can I know them, and how can I address this in the self-study? How to make sure that they are ready for the accreditation interview, and what are strategies or methods that they need to follow. He decided, or she decided, to write a prompt that will be entered to an AI and try to feed that system in order to get help from AI. He told the AI, attached are the following documents: the accreditation framework and the analysis of a community survey, which is organized into 8 separate documents aligned to the 8 standards of the protocol of the accreditation. So it gives them a role as an expert self-evaluator, and data analyst, I would like you to assist with the following tasks to be ready for accreditation evaluators. It gives the AI the role, the purpose, and this show also who will be the audience. And then it asks the AI, identify strengths and gaps, align with the accreditation frameworks, and prepare for the accreditation visit. Let's try this together. Now, I'm going to try with you an AI tool that is called Notebook LM. And I'm going to attach those results and the framework of one of the accreditation bodies, and we'll write the same prompt to the AI. And let's see what do we have. This is the Notebook LM. It's a very interesting AI tool. It is not an open source. If you ask a question without attaching any document, it will not give you an answer. So it is not an open source. It is just fed by the data that you enter to it. So what I did is, from that button, I added those sources, the domains analysis, which is coming ready from the survey that has been done. I also put one of the accreditation frameworks, which is the CIS International Accreditation Framework. And I write the prompt that has been presented in the presentation now. I give the AI this prompt, and then it generated to me this response. And it told me accreditation self-study report, strength, gap, and preparation. So here it starts to identify or to put for me the strength in the reports, the gaps in the report, and how to prepare for that. This is a very good starting point. It avoids a lot of problems. So here, the strength is in the purpose and direction, governance, curriculum, whatever things. And then it starts to identify here some area of concerns, which are the gaps. And this is in alignment with accreditation framework, how to prepare for it, and so on. It's not only that, by the way. The surprising thing that it has some other features. This is the chat window. If I open or click here on the notebook guide, it will open for me something extra. I ask it that I want to have like a conversation about that survey from an evaluator to a school leader in order to prepare for the visit. It actually generates with the human voices a conversation about an interview running between the accreditor and the school evaluator or the school leader. So let's listen to some of it.
Just the internal alignment.
Okay.
The CIS framework also places a strong emphasis on global citizenship and intercultural learning.
Right.
These values should be woven into the fabric of the school's mission.
Makes sense, especially in an international school.
Yes.
Preparing students to be citizens of the world.
Right.
And I'm seeing in our analysis that those values have like overwhelming support.
Yes.
Among all stakeholders.
It's encouraging to see that.
Okay, good.
So with a SALT.
So this is just a sample. It generates an actual conversation or actual human conversation about the gaps and the analysis of the report itself in alignment to the framework of the accreditation. And it can help us to be trained very well about the interview itself. So this is just a sneak about it to know how it can help us. And always remember that this is usually the accreditation, the AI, or if I spoke about the Gen AI specifically, it's like the sandwich. We put the base, we review, adjust, modify, add, remove, grammar check, everything. And we put the prompt in the beginning, we put the output, or we get the output, which is here, the actual filling of the sandwich, and then we put the cover at the end when we try to check the output. So it's like a delicious sandwich. Try to use it wisely and not to rely on it. It is a tool at the end that will be helping us. So let's benefit from that tool in helping our work and enhance it and even polish it and make it better. Thank you so much for listening to me today. I will wait for your questions and will reply to you as soon as possible. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the day.